Students, today we are going to learn the exactly solvable eigenvalue problem, and we will consider one dimension motion of a particle. And for this, let us consider first the time independent Schrodinger equation, which you all familiar with. And here you can see this is the Hamiltonian part, and phi is the wave function of the problem, and E is the eigenvalue of the problem. So there are so many problems, actually so many, it is not a correct word to say. Actually there are few problems which can be solved exactly using the Schrodinger time independent equation, but the most of the other cases, that is say 95% physical problems arising in the quantum mechanics, cannot be solved exactly. For that we have to use some numerical methods or variational technique or perturbation method, etc. approximation methods are used. But here in your syllabus I am just describing those problems which can be solved exactly, and we can get a closed result. So in the beginning you have to be clear in your mind that we have to find two things. One is the wave function and second is the eigenvalue. So eigenvalue will be the first one to evaluate, and then the wave function. So firstly you can think that you can refer to this picture, where in this picture you can see here that the potential is plotted, because if you want the eigenfunction, that is the wave function, so you need the proper functional form of the potential, time independent potential. So let us take an example of this kind of time independent potential, where the potential is finite at both infinities, that is at minus infinity it is V1, and at plus infinity it is V2. So these are V1 and V2 are the asymptotic values of the potential. So the interrelationship between the energy and the potential is the main thing to solve, or main points to get the solution. Depending upon the values, relative values of the total energy and the potential acting on the particle, the states, that is phi x. So phi x, that is wave function, that is the state of the problem, will be classified into two categories. One is the bound states, and another is the continuum state. So let us take the example of this figure, where if the particle energy is such that the particle energy is lower than V1 and V2, say this one, this horizontal line, consider this. So this is the energy level, because in the y-axis we have plot potential energy, so energy unit is there, and in the x-axis it is position. So this horizontal line denoting the energy of the particle, which is lower than both V1 and V2. So you can see two cutting points are there, one at this point x1, and another is at this point x2. These are called turning points. Why turning points? Because at those points you can see the potential curve is the solid curve. Here you can see. So the potential and the energy value, this is the energy plot. So potential and energy value both are equal at these points, that is at x1 and x2. So at x1, x2, E is equal to your Vx. So if E is equal to Vx, then you can certainly write from the above equation, from the time independent equation, you can see these two parts will cancel each other. So the rest part, this one is 0. So what is that? This is nothing but the in classical mechanics you can think of E is equal to Vx, and you know that E is equal to the kinetic energy and the potential energy. Sorry, there the kinetic energy by plus potential energy is there. So is equal to V. So V and V cancel. So what is that? Momentum will be 0 because kinetic energy is 0. So this is called the turning point. Actually classical turning point. So here the turning points are x1 because at there energy and potentials are equal, and x2 also this happens. So this this particle will be bounded because the momentum is 0. That means the particle will turn back. So the particle will be moving from x1 to x2. Okay. So x1 to x2 the particle will move. So the particle motion is bounded. That is why those states are called bound states. So bound states happen in this limit energy of the particle when energy of the particle is both lower than V1 and V2. So extremes of the potential are greater than the particle energy, then the particle is bounded within a limit, and those states are called bound states. Even you can think that in the region when the particle energy is such that here you can assume another energy which is greater than V1 but lesser than V2. So in this limit you can see the energy cut this curve at a single point. So there is a turning point x3. So particle cannot go classically in the right hand direction. So at the x3 the particle will return back to the negative direction, because negative direction there is no boundary, because the curve the energy level cannot intersect the curve because it is greater than V1. So the potential and energy can never be equal to each other at the left hand side of your 0. That is, the particle can go to negative infinity, but particle can't go to the positive infinity because x3 is a turning point. So particle may return from here. So the motion, you can see the mixture of boundness and unboundness, because minus infinity is possible, so it is unbound, but plus infinity is not possible for the particle, so it is bound at the right hand side. So it is a mixture, but in this limit when energy is greater than both V1 and V2, so this level, you consider this level, so this will never intersect the curve, never intersect the potential curve, that is solid curve. So the the particle can move from minus infinity to plus infinity at any time. Okay, so particle motion is completely unbound, and those states are called continuum states or scattering states. Okay, so two class of states are there coming from the Schrodinger equation, one bound states and another is continuum states or scattering states. So those are described in 2 points. So let us begin with our actual problem, and before we begin we have to check certain differentiability condition on the wave function. You know, the wave function is well behaved in quantum mechanics, so it is a continuous always and satisfies some certain normalization conditions, etc. You know it from the very beginning of the quantum mechanics, so I am not going into this, but here depending upon the discontinuity in the potential, if you can see from the Schrodinger equation that if the potential is continuous, the wave function should also be continuous, because if V is continuous, E is a scalar quantity, so it is a continuous. Phi will surely be continuous because there is a derivative, and if V is discontinuous, then the question arises whether the phi, that is the wave function, is continuous or not. You have to check it first. So if the wave function is continuous, so what happens to its differentiability? Because then d2 psi dx2 will not be existing then. So the first checking, let us check for the discontinuous potential. So discontinuity of the potential can be of various types. The first of all, you consider this kind of potential where you can plot it. You can plot it here. Say this one. This is the potential axis, and this is potential axis, and this one is distance, and this one is x equal to 0. So see, potential is 0. Okay, potential is 0, but at x equal to 0 potential gets a jump to V0. So this is the discontinuity amount V0 at x equal to 0. So if such these are called step potentials, and for those step potentials you can yes, for those step potential I am again drawing this picture. See, you can choose two very neighboring point to x equal to 0, one minus epsilon and another is plus epsilon. So in the limit epsilon tends to 0, you can reach to the point of discontinuity V0, which is this one. Okay, so in the limit epsilon tends to 0, V at x, that is at 0, it is nearly V0. Okay, so now in this limit, just integrate the Schrodinger equation. What is Schrodinger equation? In this you can write Schrodinger equation in another form, that is d2 phi dx2 and minus to the right hand side, and potential also goes to the right hand side. So 2 m e by h car square into phi, and this is negative, and plus Vx again 2 m by h car square into phi x, you can write. So rearranging the Schrodinger time independent equation, you can write this, and just take integration in the left hand side and also in the right hand side. So this will give you this equation, because in the left hand side the integral is very much easier. D phi dx will be the result at plus yes, the limit of the integration should be minus infinity to plus infinity, and after that we will put a 0 there. Okay, so now let us take this term. This subtraction is denoted by delta of d phi dx, and in the right hand side you can see those integrals have to be performed. So first of all you should select this one, and this integration will goes to 0 because the wave function is well behaved, so continuous everywhere. So wave function, see how it is 0. Let me explain in a detailed way, because its integration you can write this integration, sorry, yes, this integration you can write, say phi x dx after integration, because phi x is a continuous function, so it can be integrated, it is integrable. So phi x dx integration give you another function gx. So gx in the limit minus epsilon to plus epsilon will give you g at plus epsilon minus g at minus epsilon. So now in the limit, see there is a limit epsilon tends to 0. So g of 0 minus g of 0 will give you a 0. So the whole integration will result in a big 0. And the second integration, you can see v is there. And now in the first perform the limit over vx. So limit over vx x tends to epsilon tends to 0 will give you, according to definition, v0, because it is written above. You can see, yes, this one is the approximation of the potential discontinuity. So you can put this value. So v0 is a constant, so it will come out of the integration, and the rest integration is similar as I have described right now. So it will be again a 0. So delta of d phi dx is a 0. So d phi dx at plus epsilon will be d phi dx at minus epsilon. So what will be concluded is that the first derivative of the wave function will be continuous. At the point of discontinuity, you should mention that the discontinuity is finite. If the discontinuity is infinite, that is the potential becomes infinity at the discontinuity, then the wave function should be 0 and d phi dx also be 0. Yes, it is a continuous but 0, and the total value will be 0. The proof of this statement will be given after the problem, step potential problem. I will discuss it later. So just pictorially you can see potential is 0, and at certain point 0, that is x equal to 0, the potential goes to infinity. So this is, and then stays at infinity. So this is the potential discontinuity, but infinite discontinuity. So at infinite discontinuity, it is not finite. This is infinite. This is infinite discontinuity. So at infinite discontinuity, you can prove that psi is equal to 0, and also d psi dx also 0. Okay. And the third one is the potential discontinuity, but in the form of Dirac delta function. So this is a very interesting, and you can plot this Dirac delta function. If the potential in the form of Dirac delta function, you can plot it how? Because 0 0 0, then sudden increase to infinity, and then sudden decrease from infinity, then again 0. This is the potential, and this is the point 0. Again, this one can be taken as minus infinity, this one can be taken as plus infinity. So again, following the same rule, the first integral will be cancelled. The second, in place of v, you can put delta x minus x0. So now, following the property of delta function, this integral will give you the function back phi, but with, in place of x, you should put x0. So this is the property of Dirac delta function. So the result will be this. So depending upon phi at x0, this is not x0, this is actually x0. So phi at x0, you should first evaluate it, and then put it into this equation. It will give you the result that d phi dx, that is the first derivative of the wave function, will be continuous or not. If phi x0 is a 0, then those two are equal, so first derivative will be continuous, otherwise the first derivative will be discontinuous. Okay, so these are the features when the potential has a discontinuity at some point, whether it is finite or infinite, or like Dirac delta function. So keeping all those things in our mind, we shall begin our journey from the state potential. The state potential means the potential when it is 0, I have already discussed, suddenly get jumped at some finite value v0 and remains at v0 at x equal to 0 to infinity. So the region of the particle can be divided into two regions, region 1 and region 2. Region 1 where potential is 0 and region 2 where the potential is v0. So two Schrodinger equations will be written, and the first Schrodinger equation will give you minus h squared by 2m into d2 psi 1. Psi 1 is the wave function in this region 1 and psi 1 will be the wave function of the particle in this region. So particle is moving from left to right. Okay, that is, it is written here incident wave, that is the incident de Broglie wave or matter wave associated with the moving particle. So the first region Schrodinger equation will be of this form, and the second region will be of this form. Here V is the constant potential, V0 actually. So you can rearrange, or yes, first consider the case when the energy is greater than V0. What will happen then? Then the equation 1 is same, but that is, it is a SHM like equation. You can see here d2 psi 1 dx2 plus k1 squared psi 1, because k1 square is nothing but the frequency like behavior. K1 square is 2me by h square, and similarly k2 square from equation 2 you can write this one 2m by h square into E minus V0. Because E is greater than V0, so it is a positive term, so K2 is real. So these two equations are like the simple harmonic equation. You can solve it, you can get two linearly independent solutions, and totally 4 undetermined or arbitrary constants. Now what are the significance of those constants or those parts? You can see here, this one is wave traveling along the positive x direction. So this is the incident wave function actually, and this is moving towards the negative x direction, this plane wave. So this will be the reflected wave function. Why reflected? Because there is a barrier, there is a step. So incident particle can be reflected as well towards its left. So the reflected wave is represented by this one, it will be minus ik1x, and in psi 2 there you can see there is a term e to the power ik2x, which again a particle moving towards right. So this can be written as psi transmitted. But what about the d into e to the power minus ik2x? This is showing, this is actually describing nothing, because if there is a reflector at the right hand side at the infinity, then some wave can be again reflected back towards the left, but there is no such conditions on the potential. So this this d part will vanish. So here the d part will not appear here, so d is equal to 0. So three constants we have to evaluate, one a, b, c. So because psi 2 now becomes c into e to the power ik2x, that is transmitted wave function. Okay, transmitted wave function. Now the boundary conditions, we have that the wave function is continuous always at the boundary, and that is x equal to 0, and the first derivative is also continuous at the boundary. We have just derived it. So using those initial conditions or boundary conditions, we can find out the constants a, b in terms of c. You can see here, because two boundary conditions are there, one constant will not be come out. So you can talk about the ratios, that is b by a, you can get c by a, because you can see here, yes, the probability current density J incident for the incident wave can be written like this. This formula already I have discussed in my previous lecture. So you can put psi in. What is psi in? I am again writing what is incident wave. Psi in incident wave is A into e to the power I k1x. What is reflected wave? Reflected wave is B into e to the power minus I k1x. And what is transmitted wave? This is C into e to the power I k2x. So three waves you know. So you can find the probability current density for each of them. So J incident probability current density for incident wave, probability current density for the reflected one, and it is for the refracted or the transmitted one. So you can now calculate the probability of transmission, that is the transmission coefficient, that is the probability. You can divide those two probabilities Jt with Ji, so it will give you C by A whole square, and you know the ratio C by A. So put it down, this will give you this. And similarly the reflection coefficient, you can get this. And this, these two very important thing, that is the particle can penetrate to the right hand side, and as well the particle can be reflected from the boundary. So the total probability should be 1, so you can check it, just add them R plus T, you can see that this is 1, you can check it. And here you can see another important feature, that is C by A, that is the amplitude for transmission and amplitude for the incident. You can see K1 is greater than K2, because K1 in the expression for K1 you can see here, yes, K1 only E, and in K2 E minus V0 is there. So K1 is greater than K2 clearly. So K1 greater than K2 means this expression C by A, K1 greater than K2, so this is a fraction, so C1 always greater than A. So amplitude of the transmitted wave is greater than the amplitude of the incident wave. So again the kinetic energy of the particle in the region 1 is greater than the kinetic energy, obviously, because kinetic energy K1 is related to the kinetic energy, so kinetic energy is higher at the region 1, and it is lower at the region 2, because that incident wave is divided into two parts. One part is goes to the right, so it will have obviously a lower kinetic energy. So these are the most important salient features, and there are some notes also, you can go through it by your own and you can understand. Now the another interesting fact, when the energy is lower than V0, that is the height of the potential, what will happen? K1 same as it is, but K2 you cannot write like K2 square is equal to E minus V0, because this is a negative term, so K2 will be an imaginary term, so minus alpha square you can write. So the equation number 2 can be changed as like this, but 1 is invariant, 2 is changed by alpha. In place of plus K2 square you have written minus alpha square, where alpha is again a positive quantity, it is written over here, you can see. Okay, now the solution of 1 is similar, and two results you know, this one and this one. This one is incident, this one is reflected, this one is incident, this one is reflected, but the solution of rest of the two is this. Now you can see, if you put x is equal to infinity, so psi 2 will be infinity, because d into infinity, so infinity. So this is not the real wave function, because wave function should vanish at x equal to infinity, so d part will not appear in into this equation, so the main equations should be C into e to the power minus alpha x. So now you have again 3 coefficients and you have 2 boundary conditions. Again the same boundary conditions you can use, and you can formulate different values of alpha beta or a and b arbitrary constants in terms of C, and again you can find the ratios of b to a and c to a to get the values of transmission coefficient and the reflection coefficient. And very interestingly, you can see the probability of particle flowing to the right hand side of the region is 0, because here the energy of the particle is assumed to be lower than the potential state. That means if the particle energy is represented by this line, the potential is this, so V0, and this is E. So particle cannot penetrate into this region. Total particle, part 1 probability is the reflection. So the particle has to come back to the region 1, which is denoted by the reflection coefficient. So these are the measurement of probability of getting those particles into some region. So this is actually the classical result also. Quantum mechanics gives you nothing new with respect to the classical result up to this point. And here is the one which I have told you that I will prove it later after the step potential has been solved. You can see for the step potential in the second case where the potential is greater than the particle energy, you can see those 2 solutions, psi 1 and psi 2, in the 2 regions. And psi 1, instead of writing in e to the power ik1x plus b into e to the power minus ik1x, it is written in the form of sine and cos, which is no new thing to you. A, b are arbitrary constants, and the second solution, second region, the solution will be c into the power minus I alpha x there, here it is kappa. So 2 values you can check, it is written mu, here you can mu is not written, mu is the mass. Okay. So it is the mass of the particle, and V0, you know this. Now let us assume yes, V0 it is greater than E. Because of that you got those 2 solutions, and here the continuity, yes, wave functions are continuous, and first derivative of the wave function is again continuous, so it will give you C is equal to B, and you have proved it earlier also. See here, okay, it is not written here. Yes, you can put it down like this. C is equal to B, you can use those 2 formula and those 2 boundary condition, you can arrive the point that C is equal to B. Now C and this relation C is equal to minus K by kappa into A. So K by kappa, you can put this value into A. Now you can put V0 as infinity, because we are talking about the potential discontinuity as infinite. So you should put V0 as infinity. So if you put V0 at infinity, so C will be 0, and hence B will be again 0. So wave function will be 0, because if C is equal to 0 at boundary and B is equal to 0 and at x equal to 0, this will vanish automatically because sign is there. So psi will be 0 at the boundary. Okay, so the wave function and its first derivative also are the zeros at the boundary. So this is, yes, this is written here, wave function must vanish everywhere in the region of the infinite potential starting from the boundary where the potential goes up to the infinity. Okay, here potential is 0, but here potential is infinity. So wave function should be 0 here, and its first derivative also 0 here. So we have proved what we have promised, in the very beginning of this lecture, and this one will be discussed in my next lecture, because this will somehow move your ideas upside down from the classical mechanics. So in this class we have discussed the continuity condition of the wave function and its first derivative at the boundary where the potential has discontinuity. The discontinuity of will be of three types: one finite, number two infinite, number three of Dirac delta type. So those three cases, the wave function and its continuity conditions are discussed, and as a problem of one-dimensional time-independent Schrodinger equation, we have solved the state potential problem, and we got some beautiful results which are very successful to prove the experimental results. So at this point, let me thank you for listening.